All right, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, welcome. Hey, it's happy Monday, Super Bowl Monday, the day after Super Bowl. If your team won, congratulations. If your team lost, nobody cares. It's a Monday. Get back to work. Nobody cares if your team won, too, by the way. But congratulations to the Kansas City Chiefs. All right, so today we're very fortunate. From the lovely state of Nevada, Las Vegas, we have from the St. Rose office, Andrew Kosloske. Andrew, hit *6 on your phone so you can unmute yourself, *6, and we'll be able to hear you.
Hey, guys. Hey, Rick. Thanks for having me.
There he is. Hey, well, tell us a little about yourself, my man, how long you've been doing this, all that good stuff, please.
Sure. Awesome. My name's Andrew Kosloske. I do real estate out of sunny Las Vegas, Nevada. I am currently in my 5th year of real estate. And have a team up here. On my team, I have 5-6 agents, and it's going great. I couldn't be happier this year.
It's great.
As far as
you're also Rookie of the Year, your first year.
I was, yeah. I was fortunate enough to put in the work to earn myself Rookie of the Year, which was around I started in 2019, and then my first year was 2019-2020. We all know what happened in 2020. And
right.
First year ended up putting 21 in contract, but had 5 fall out due to the closures here in Las Vegas. Ended up doing my first year doing 16 deals total. Earned Rookie of the Year. Second year was a little bit better than the first. Had my momentum, confidence, scripts down, objection handlers ready to go. And I also had a schedule. Second year did around 40, 45, 48, something like that. Started the team in the middle of my second year. Third year was my best year by far. 2 years ago, I personally did like 76 units, and then my team total did 108. And then last year, excuse me, frog in my throat. Last year I did around.
No problem.
I don't know. I think the team finished last year like around 50. A little bit different, a little bit slower last year. Also had some personal issues going on, which Rick knows about, but we don't need to get into here. But this year's off to a great start. Really off to a great start. We've been talking about it, Rick, how we thought that November, December might be a little slow, but then Q1 this year is going to pick up, and it's definitely showing that way for me. I have I'll just put something else in contract. So I have 5 escrows right now. One of them is a double N, so technically 6. And yeah, I mean, it's starting to feel busy again. It is, with my calls, with my follow-up, with reaching out to SOI. It's starting to feel busy again.
That's great. Yeah, you had 3 incredible growth years. I mean, the first year was, COVID, and that was crazy because we were shut down a little too long. But anyway, that's my opinion. Yours, I know yours too. Then you did 44. I remember it was 44 your second year, 70. I think you said 76 yourself personally, with 108 as the team. Unbelievable. And then you had to, come down to reality life year because you had a lot going on personally, which it's awesome you still did that much with everything you had going on. And then this year is going to be back on track year with, and you're right, the playing field has gotten better with the interest rates coming down a little bit. Although, even with interest, I mean, the interest rates are in the 6s now. So, I mean, there's really nothing to complain about. They'll probably go lower, but the interest rates are still very workable. The market's picked up. People are back to business. And I think we're going to have a pretty incredible year.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the interest rate, for some reason, is still like a really big objection for most. And I think a really good buyer's agent who has their finger on the pulse of how this market is going can easily work through that objection, right? We have temporary buy downs. I've even seen some 3-year buy downs, a 3-2-1 buy down, which is just an incredible deal if you can get the seller to pay for that. So personally, I just don't see the interest rates as an objection for buyers right now. I think they need to And if you're listening and you have buyers, I think you really need to put the gas on them. We need to be good salesmen and women. And part of that is persuasion with good analytics and good data. And we need to help our clients understand, because that's what we're supposed to do, the benefit of purchasing now before appreciation hits after all these sales strike. And these guys are going to be paying more with a little bit less of an interest rate when they could just buy now, refinance later, or have the seller pay for those concessions and get a smoking deal right now and not have to worry about it for another 6 to 12, maybe even 18 months. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think interest rates right now is a huge objection. And I think that can be overcome. Catching listings right now, though, I think is definitely the skill curve and the absolute best way to grow your business this year. There's still not too much inventory here personally in Vegas. I still think we're less than 2 months of inventory, right? I don't think that's changed. I haven't looked yet today, but I don't see that changing here for a little bit either. Because if there's any relief to the interest rate, the MLS is just going to continue to explode, and I just don't see us getting back to normal levels of inventory for at least another 6 months to a year here in Vegas.
Yeah. Yeah. What is it now? So it's been hovering around 4,000, right? Active inventory.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
like including everything: condos, high rises, single family residences. Yep.
Yeah. And think about that. We have about 2.5 million people here. Orange County has a little over 3 million, and they only have 1,600. So we're tight, but they're even tighter. And you're right. I think the like the way you were talking about buyers, you look at interest rates as an objection, where some agents look at it as a condition, meaning they're not going to buy until the rates come down, and they're missing the opportunity to help somebody get a home or make a change, knowing that when the rates come down lower, what's going to happen? It's going to be a freaking frenzy. I don't know if it'll be like, April, May, June of 2020, but it could be. And if you help them get a home today, like you said, before the appreciation really hits, I think it's going to become a premium to own a home in no time in this country.
Yeah, I agree. I do. Yeah.
So give us some of those. So you have a buyer today. Give us a little of that presentation. I like where you started. Give us a little bit more in depth. So you're talking to a buyer, and you're somebody that really wants to buy, but really thinks the interest rates need to come down first. What do you take them through?
Sure. I think the number one biggest tool, if they're on the fence, and a lot of the buyers, 3 of the buyers that I've worked with this year already were renters. Number one, the biggest thing is you have to have your analytics in order with the rent versus buy if they are currently renters. Number 2, that is a big thing, because rents compared to mortgages with a 7% natural interest rate, you can find cheaper rents. So that is going to be an objection. Number 2 is you need to show them the math behind the temporary buy down. Right now, a lot of these houses and sellers are giving concessions, right? They may have multiple offers, but they're still willing to give some concessions. So with that, having good numbers in a easy to swallow format on paper, or being able to explain it for those that aren't visual learners to them when you have your buyer's consultation, is going to be paramount for when you do handle that objection further down the road, right? Because the interest rate, like I was saying, it is more of an objection than a condition, because if you can partner and negotiate well with the seller and have them pay $8,000 to get you that 3-2-1 buy down on a house that's like, $350,000, $400,000, the interest rate is no longer an objection. Just went from 7% interest rate to 5%. And that rate there is hundreds of dollars off a month. I mean, hundreds of dollars off a month. And that is such a huge relief for a lot of these people too. And it will also increase their purchase power. So you're going to be doing them, maybe a 2-3 folded benefit by negotiating that temporary buy down. So that is kind of what I walk through. Other than that, I would say it's pretty pretty common to go through like just the steps, the entire transaction process with a buyer. But right now, I think their biggest objections is cash to close, interest rates, and location. You know, if you can, I think in that order too, because before it was like location number one, I would say, like maybe a couple years ago, location was number one because interest rates were lower. But if you can find them a really nice home here in Las Vegas that isn't too much cash to close, so if the seller doesn't necessarily give them a full 3-2-1 buy down or 2-1 or just a 1 buy down or even a fixed buy down, and they have the cash to close, but they have a decent interest rate. A lot of the buyers now are flexible with the location too, at least here in Las Vegas. I can't speak for any other cities.
Right.
Just because they're able to get what they want now.
Yeah. Now, I'm just curious, when you do your analytics, which is great, is it straight up rent per month versus mortgage payment per month, or do you actually factor in the, principal reduction and tax savings, or you just go straight up 1-to-1?
No, so I do both.
Okay, good.
I think it's important that they see both. I have a really good lender that I've partnered with out here that is able to equip me with those numbers, especially if I'm like, hey, this is the property that we're looking at, or these are the 4 properties that we're looking at. I need numbers, and most lenders will be able to provide you with this, but I will get them numbers on a 1-to-1, rent now versus the mortgage right now. Then she also equips me with just numbers that also include appreciation, if and when you can refinance in 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, how much those numbers change and benefit to you just for owning rather than just renting, and helping that landlord pay off their Mercedes or helping them golf on a Wednesday afternoon. And once they see the practicality of those numbers, I mean, because math doesn't lie. It's one of those subjects in school where it's finite. There is no real way to. There's no imaginary numbers in real estate. Well, there is a math, but you know what I mean. Yeah,
no, it's funny you say that because and you mentioned golf, and I'll tell this story quickly. I've already told you, but I'm playing golf, and I ended up being paired up with this. It was me and one of my friends, and this husband and wife couple, and by the third hole now we're best buddies, and he knows I'm in real estate. And then he asked me this question just like this. He said, should I buy right now? And I said, well, let me ask you, are you renting? Yes. Then the answer is yes, you should buy. Unless you're living in your parents' house, basement, or garage and not paying rent, then you should buy. He goes, but the rates are coming down. And I go, so you're going to continue to penalize yourself until they go lower? He goes, what do you mean? Right. I go, well, there's no scenario that renting is better. What are you paying a month? And I went through the basic numbers with him, and he's like, wow, I never looked at it that way. I go, plus the rates are going to come down, and then you're going to be competing with 87 million people. Right now you have the opportunity to pick the house you want and refinance later. And then I went over buy down. But it's the way I feel. It's the way I've seen in my 39 years doing this. And we've never had, when I moved to Las Vegas, I know, here we go, it's going to sound like an old guy, but when I moved to Las Vegas in 2010, there were 30,000 homes on the market. I mean, it was the post end. Now we have less than 4,000 total with everything. I mean, it's almost crazy if you think about it. So unless I think it's really important for us today as real estate agents not to be afraid to give them the real point blank conversation, to even shock them maybe, even if they don't do it right away, they're thinking about it and they may do something down the road, right? I mean, I think it's important.
I do. Yeah. And I think before you can have those conversations, because sometimes, right, those real face-to-face conversations where you are the real estate professional, hopefully a real estate expert, because there is a difference between a professional and an expert, but you're able to offer that expertise in a real conversation that is tactful, mindful of your client's current situation, and it isn't going to turn them off or make them feel bad, right? Because sometimes I've seen in the role play classes that I do too, sometimes we can just come off a little abrasive when it comes to that conversation. And I think that's another thing too. This year, I think you're going to have your scripts and your role play and your objection handled this year, because our consumers this year, they're going through a lot. We have inflation, right? We have that includes the average cost of living, not to mention groceries. And these guys are not getting the raises that they need at work, right? Inflation is, according to the Fed, starting to slow down, but still, you have single mom, single dad, you have hardworking parents that are feeling the pressure there. They're not getting the relief that they need at work. They have to pick up extra shifts. And then there's some pious real estate agent telling them that they should just throw all their money into a house, which I don't necessarily disagree with. It just, there needs to be a softer approach than to just hammering it with them. And that's why, role playing good scripts is good. At least knowing the information, be able to deliver that with tenderness. You know what I mean? Because sometimes
I do.
Just come across.
You got to be in rapport. You got to be in rapport with them. And when you talk scripts and delivery, it's all about getting in rapport. And once you're in rapport, then they trust you. Then you can be a little bit more honest, I should say point blank with them, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think so.
All right, cool. So I'm somebody that you look at, this is your fifth year in the business, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's gone by fast.
Give them, you're doing great. No, you're doing incredibly well. I always tell the story that Andrew met me in the back stairs when I was doing Success Series at St. Rose years, 5.5 years ago, and told me, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And I'm like, yeah, because I've heard people tell me that, and then only a small portion of people actually follow through, and you actually follow through and exceeded what I think even what you thought was possible at first, and you're doing an incredible job. So that brings me to my next question is, give them a top 3 things that you focus on a daily basis to be as successful as you are.
Sure. Top 3 things to continue, be successful, and also leave some room for growth there. Number 1, right, and this has changed over the years too, but when I prospect with the intent of taking it seriously and, not taking no for an answer. There's going to be a lot of times where you're getting beat up over the phone, you're making your phone calls, you're calling your SOI, and the calls are just not going as well as you want them to. It happens. Everyone has an off day. Calls are not always the best. But what I've done differently and what I do differently now is, regardless of how they're going, I don't just give up. I don't just end the phone call first. I really try and take what they're saying, how they feel, their emotions, their frustrations, even if it is answering the phone on a smartphone to an unknown number and they get me, taking it seriously, really trying to soften them with whatever humor that I can, have fun on the phone calls, but ultimately try and offer and provide a service to them to help them out. And that's how I got this double end. It was from a phone call that just happened to be a just listed, just sold out here in Las Vegas, and got somebody, and they were frustrated, and that I called them. They weren't on market, whatever, but was able to keep them on the line and continue to have conversations. And I took it seriously and asked them good questions and ended up meeting with them the next week. The rest is history. So I think number 1 is treat your prospecting seriously. When somebody comes into an open house, make sure you get their contact information. Don't take no for an answer.
Right.
If they don't sign a registration card right at the beginning, do something else. Someone else on my team came up with a really good idea. I know other agents do it. I've never really done it before, but we give them a pen and a notepad for feedback. Hey, at the top is, first name, phone number, email. As you're walking through the house, we would really love some feedback to give to the sellers. Even if it is, I don't like the carpet, we want to know what you want to hear. And anytime they feel like they're able to help the seller out, it seems like they're more willing to give contact information as well. It's no longer like Mickey Mouse at 702-123-4567-8, as their registration name on a registration card. But that seems to be helping. So taking the open houses seriously, taking your SOI calls seriously. It's It's a big deal. It's a big deal. Number two,
I agree. And I would even add into that, don't fall for the reflex no. That's kind of what you're describing too. Keep talking, keep asking questions. Don't fall for the reflex no. And I like it though. That's awesome. Awesome first point.
Yeah. I mean, because another thing too that I'm telling my team is like, listen, if they didn't want to talk to you, they wouldn't answer the phone. The year is 2024. We have iPhones that tell us exactly what phone number's coming in. And if they didn't want to talk to you, they wouldn't answer the phone. I don't, right? And I'm a salesperson. If I answer the phone to an unknown number that says spam likely, I'll at least listen to them, right?
Right.
We know they're reading from a script and it's real rough, but I will hear them out. So that's number one. Take it all seriously. Number two, your schedule. It's really important. I think just with everything that happened last year, in order for me to keep the same pace and to mentally be able to focus when I need to focus, your schedule and having that schedule is like paramount for the growth of your real estate business. And what I mean by that is like when you're at home and you have kids like I do, and you're not necessarily working, be home with your kids and don't be working, right? And give it 110. But then when you're in the office and you're supposed to be prospecting, your mind needs to be there prospecting. Take your schedule and actually do the schedule, right? It's one thing to just show up at the office. It's another thing to show up at the office and actually follow through with your schedule. Don't be caught walking the halls, shooting, the water area with all your other colleagues, talking about the Super Bowl or what Taylor Swift was wearing and XYZ. Like really have a schedule, set your breaks up, do your follow-up, do your showings, and stick to it. Stick to your schedule. Number three would definitely be just refreshing and learning this housing market's objections. And I do talk about this in your success series every once in a while, but like I feel like every quarter you need to refresh your objection handlers as to why sellers are not selling, or the objections that you hear, or why buyers are not buying, and the objections that you hear there too. Real estate objections and the salesman or saleswomanship needed is, I don't know why people don't focus on it a little bit more, but like if we know the answers that are going to come out of our client's mouth when we ask the question, hey, do you know when he's looking to buy or whatever? Are you looking to sell? Blah, blah, blah. They're like, no, interest rates are too high. If I sell, I don't know where to go. Well, it's like an open book test at that point. If we know the answer, we know the question, we should be able to formulate some sort of business strategy to get more information, to ask better questions, to pull more information from these conversations to help these people get where they need. When you walk into a doctor's office, they don't ask one question, you say, I feel fine, or I'm okay, I don't want to be here, like an expired call. Why am I here? Blah, blah, blah. No, they just hop right in. What'd you bring in? Heard your knee hurts. Tell me about it. What about your other knee? What about your shoulders? You know what I mean? They just ask a ton of questions. And a lot of times we just sit there and ask. So they're trying to figure out essentially the answers to all the objections that we know. And we got to do the same thing as real estate experts and professionals. We need to know what they're going to say and be able to put handles on it and help them. Because if you can't, then probably not going to produce what you want. Yeah. So those are the three things that I would say.
All right, cool. I love it. Okay, so the thing is that, and you're a worker. You show up, you do your job. You have 3 young kids, right? So you you have all. My point is, you have distractions that other people would use as excuses not to, but you show up, you do what you're supposed to be doing, you make your calls, and I think that's what's important. And you do it primarily by the phone, but you have been outdoor knocking, right? But it's primarily by the phone.
Correct. Yeah, primarily by the phone. But anytime my team wants to do an open house, I always do it with them. Anytime they want to go door knocking, I'm doing it with them. We're looking at farming some things. I mean, like, we're super involved. I want us to be a team where we prospect. We don't buy leads. We don't ask for leads. We don't ask for handouts. I don't want anyone to feel like we're passive agents, which, don't get me wrong, once we've earned it, yeah, we're going to take those deals too that just fall on our lap, but we're active, we are hungry, and we want to make money this year. So we're going to go out and get it, and we're not going to let anything or anyone stop us. And so far,
I love it. I love it. What a perfect place to stop. Well, I just want to say, obviously, I'm behind you 100%, my man, always here. Anything you need, you're a great example of a way to do it and be successful in real estate without spending a lot of money too. So congratulations. Really appreciate you taking your time out today, my man. Thanks everybody for showing up. All right, my pleasure.
Thanks, guys.
All right, everybody. Thank you very much. Appreciate
Bye.
it. We'll talk soon. All right, everybody. Bye-bye.